Okay, boys and girls, you saw the title of the video. I'm sure some of you eager folks out there that likes to tell me how crazy I am when I make videos like this have already commented on the video just based off the title alone. I can't believe you'd say the Raiders could have a top 10 offense. They were bottom 5 in the league last year. Everyone take a collective deep breath. This is what we're going to do because I've seen a lot of people the past few days, specifically after I made my AFC rankings video, where I put our skill position players without the quarterback second below the Chiefs. And they said, well, how could you put Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce ahead of Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers? Like, you just look on paper and we have clearly a better whatever. When you go out on the limb and say our skill positions, not taking into account the quarterback, are the best in the division on paper. Excuse me. And then you go out on a further limb and say, this is a top 10 offense with Geno Smith, with Ashton Jeanty, with Chip Kelly. You have to know what we're going up against, and you have to understand the leaps that we are going to have to make to go from what we were last year to what we are now, which could be a top 10 offense. All that to say, I think we made wholesale changes. We all know that. We are all aware of the changes that we made. But I have here the 2024 offensive rankings, team passing and team rushing statistics, scoring, passing, rushing, all that good stuff. And you're going to see just how terrible we were last year. Again, not breaking any news to anybody, but this is going to be the barometer. This is going to be the linchpin video to show what we have to do, just how impactful players like Ashton Jeanty and Geno Smith and Jack Bech have to be to get from a bottom 5 offense to a top 10 offense. And some areas are guaranteed to hit, right? There are smaller margins from where we were converting third downs at the bottom of the league to top 10 teams in the league converting third downs. It's like this, razor thin. The changes that we made are going to help us get there, right? Top 15, top 10. But then there's massive gaps in other specific areas that we have to improve so much that I think it's going to be a little more difficult than some people are letting on in the comments to just be lock top 10 offense. So we're going to talk about all that. I also have a Malcolm Koonce article here that I want to discuss as well, because Malcolm Koonce is probably going to be the key to this defense getting back to where it was when Antonio Pierce was the interim head coach. Because I said this on my Bleacher Report live stream on Friday. This defense will be better than it was last year. It doesn't matter how many people we lost, because most of those people that we lost weren't even playing as it is because of injuries. And Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby and Malcolm Koonce and Divine Diablo and all these guys, Nate Hobbs, they were all hurt. So just by proxy of getting back basically our entire starting defensive line, it will be better this year than it is going to have been last year. The difference is, can we reach the heights of what it was, top 10 scoring defense under Antonio Pierce's interim season? I would say probably not. But Malcolm Koonce being the linchpin to all that, the reason I say that is because if he is taking that next step to capitalize on what he did in 2023, then you can't double Max anymore, because you can't double him and double Wilkins and double Koonce. And because of our shortcomings at secondary, mainly the corner position, and our shortcomings at linebacker, you need the defensive line to be able to get home without blitzing, because you can't afford to blitz these guys when you only have Jacorian Bennett and Jeremy Chen out there playing at a somewhat elite level. So we're going to get into the offense. We're going to get into Malcolm Koonce. But before all that, I just want to mention we have hit 12,800 subscribers. We are 200 away from 13,000. Can't believe I'm even saying that at all. About 50% of you that watch these videos are not yet subscribed because you're holding out. I don't know why, but hit that subscribe button so you can get notifications if you have that bell icon clicked and notifications turned on your iPhone or Android device with the YouTube app to make sure you get videos that I upload the second I upload them. Also, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. We're up to 31 members, 45 free members or 45 total members, 14 free members, 31 members total. If you sign up at the $5 tier, you get your name at the end of the credits, becoming an executive producer like these beautiful people right here. You get exclusive content that will never be uploaded to YouTube because of the copyright laws and all those things like that. It's kind of boring, but it is what it is. All those videos that I do reacting to highlights or breaking down film go right up to Patreon, and I can't upload them on YouTube at the $5 tier. That's where you get those. You get videos like this days in advance. I'm recording this Sunday morning, May 18th. This will be uploaded probably Monday afternoon, Monday evening. So the people that are signed up to Patreon get this video at least a day in advance. For the $10 tier, you get all that stuff that I had mentioned before, but you also get ad-free content and videos of me explaining how I was able to grow this channel to where it is right now. Patreon.com/ALLaBorde, link in the description below. And lastly, my Discord, which is completely free. We're always in there chatting away. There is a link to my Discord in every single video I post. Let me just pull it up right here so you can see it. Bang, bang. Here it is right here. We're always chatting in here. We're always talking about free agents. What are we talking about right now? Tom Brady has done wonders for us, people are saying. People read an article about Jacoby Myers. Tucker only had 2 drops last year. I mean, we're talking about stuff all the time. We're posting different YouTube videos. We're talking about fantasy football. The link is in the description. That's completely free. Just join. We got about 160 members. Okay. So before we get into the offensive and defensive stuff, we're going to talk about Malcolm Koonce a little bit because there's an article that came out. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I want to give it a gander here because it discusses why he stayed in Las Vegas while he was injured. Okay, so why Malcolm Koonce stayed in Las Vegas during the offseason. Players do not often stay in their team city during the offseason. Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Malcolm Koonce reveals why he did that. This is an article on SportsIllustrated.com by Carter Landis 2 days ago. Las Vegas Raiders re-signed defensive end Malcolm Koonce to a 1-year deal during free agency in March. Koonce missed the entirety of the 2024 season with a knee injury after a breakout 2023, a devastating end to a season that did not even begin for a player who was expected to take another step forward. As he continues to work his way back from injury, Koonce stayed in Las Vegas during the offseason. Players often return home during the offseason, but Koonce did not. Why did he remain in Vegas? He explained this in the latest episode of teammate Max Crosby's podcast, The Rush. Go check that episode out if you haven't watched it. It's really, really insightful, and I just love Malcolm Koonce's personality. He just seems like a really good dude. Okay. This is Malcolm Koonce's quote. I think it was just my injury, Koonce said. So I got injured right before the season, and I just wanted my rehab to be, I didn't want to bounce around different areas and then be like, I did this here and then this there. I wanted a consistent linear process as I get into running, as I get into cutting. You've seen the whole thing. So right off the bat, what I appreciate is that I would say it makes sense. Okay, I didn't want to bounce around during, my injury rehab, right? But I'm assuming that 90% of the people that have an injury like that want to be home around the people that they trust the most and that love them and that can support them. But to Malcolm, he was like, this is the most important season of my life coming up. I've signed a 1-year-ish prove-it deal, right? The ish for the prove-it, not the ish for the 1 year. It is 1 year. And I want to be a Raider, and I want to make an impact alongside Malcolm Koonce and Christian Wilkins. And what gives me the best chance to focus completely on my injury and completely on the rehab process is to not leave the Vegas area, to stay in constant contact with the doctors and the health physicians and the athletic trainers on the staff, and to make sure that John Spytek and company know I'm staying here. You want me here and you're paying me a fair price? I'm here for the long haul, which is something I really, really appreciate. Okay. Koonce also said Crosby was a major reason why he stayed while rehabbing from his injury. Crosby is also a rare example of a player who stays in Vegas during the offseason. See, and he wants to take, that advice and that example from Max Crosby. You see Max is one of the best in the league. If he can stay and work out at the facility, it's good enough for anybody. This season, Koonce will try to have a breakout season he was expected to have last season as he, Crosby, and Wilkins return healthily for the Raiders' defensive line. They will anchor the silver and black defense. Koonce is on a 1-year contract coming off that serious injury, so not only does he want to have a breakout season, but he also wants to prove that he is still the same player he was before getting hurt. It has been a tough road back for the former third-round pick, but he started to piece together an impressive pass rush repertoire in his third season in the league. With another year of development under Rob Leonard and playing in Patrick Graham's scheme, we could see Koonce return to form and finally become a consistent pass rushing presence across from Crosby. Okay. I really love the idea that he is taking everything he can from Max Crosby to get better. Now, we heard that Tyree Wilson was doing the same thing. The difference between Tyree Wilson and Malcolm Koonce, unfortunately for Tyree, is that Malcolm Koonce is just a more skilled player. We saw him absolutely pop. And what's crazy is that he wasn't starting until Josh McDaniels' dumbass got fired. And Antonio Pierce was like, this guy seems pretty good. I'm going to play him. And exploded for like 8 sacks. And single-handedly took over that Kansas City Chiefs game where we won with Aiden O'Connell not completing a pass after the first quarter. Is that what that stat was? Still crazy to me. If he can be what he was that season, even if he doesn't take the next step, if he could just give you a full season of starting like 9 sacks, you have no idea how big that is going to be for the rest of our offense. Because I do expect this offense to lean heavily on the defensive front. I mean, they tripled down with back-to-back D tackles drafted, right? Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Big East. Not that they drafted them back-to-back, but I'm saying that they hit that position multiple times in the draft. So you've got depth behind Wilkins. You've got Crosby and Koonce, and you've got Adam Butler, and you've got Tyree Wilson waiting in the wings to contribute. If this team can stay healthy on the front 4 side of the ball, they are going to help the deficiencies behind them, linebacker and corner, tremendously. Because if you can get home with 4, which is what we were able to do against the Chiefs, and not blitz, there's going to be not many people open. Doesn't matter how good or bad your safeties are. And Mahomes has to throw like this. This is what we saw in the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't have to blitz. They rushed 4. They got home. Now, their secondary and their linebacking core is way better than ours. So Mahomes is throwing pick sixes to Cooper DeJean, rookie corners and safeties. This will only make people like Darian Porter and Decamian Richardson and Isaiah Polamau, it will make their development much easier because they don't have to constantly bear down every single play. It can ease them into the players that they can be, making mistakes but not having the pressure like DCAM did last year of being cornerback number 1. That can mess with people if you throw them in too early. It can mess with their psyche. It happens a lot with quarterbacks, but I'm sure it happens with every position in the National Football League. And if you can ease them into it with this front 4 playing at the potential that we can see, that we know they can do, we could have a top 15-ish defense, even with the deficiencies that we have. Now, it's a big if. Koonce and Wilkins might not play up to the potential, and then it's all on Crosby again, which is unfortunate, which means the offense has to step up. Speaking of the offense having to step up, let's talk about the offensive rankings and what we have to do specifically here, because this is a detailed data dive here from Fox Sports. This is uploaded just after the season had ended. Now, this is what I want to talk about here. We're going to get into all the rankings here, and we're going to get into what we have to do to leap into the top 10. And this is what I want people to consider when they just immediately say we're going to have a top 10 offense next year. It does not work like that. So let's see where we landed last year. Total offenses is offensive yards per game. Okay? We were 27th at 303. To get to 10, you need 360. Now, where were the Seahawks with Geno Smith? They're at 330. So you have to imagine, with the additions of Ashton Genty and Jack Besh, that they can account for, and Geno Smith, they can account for 30 yards. Because to get from 27 to 10, oh, sorry, it's not 30. What am I saying? I'm thinking of the Seahawks. They have to account for 60 yards a game. Is that possible? I think it's possible, but we see right here. Geno Smith, a decent run game. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, it was 330. So let's pretend that they jump 40 yards and they get to like this range right here. That's not top 10, but it's close enough to have a significant jump. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. Passing offense. The Raiders were actually 13th, which I know is probably surprising to a lot of people. We're just going off passing yards. Now, touchdowns, it was a nightmare. They were easily the lowest in the league. Well, the Giants were 15 were the lowest, but then we were tied for the second lowest. Touchdowns will go up. Geno Smith is a gunslinger. They're going to run the ball more. But in terms of yards, we're right there as it is. So in terms of passing yards, we definitely can get there. Rushing yards is going to be the key here because when you take a look at the rushing offenses, right? Ravens led the league with 186. That's insane. The Eagles with 180. I mean, these are all teams that have mobile quarterbacks, right? Go all the way to the bottom. We can double our output and still not be at the top. Think about that. That's insane. We got to go from 80 to 130. Do the math on that. We have to improve a whole 50 yards per game to get into the top 10. Now, Geno will help you out a little bit there. But again, 19 rushing touchdowns. That is absolutely abysmal. This is going to be the biggest hurdle. I don't care how great Ashton Jeanty is his first season. If the offensive line isn't up to snuff and he's consistently getting hammered, Ashton Jeanty, it's going to be tough to make this leap. So you can barely get there with total yards. You can get there passing, but even if you add 30 yards to it, right? You go from 80, 90, 100, 110. Now you're right around here, 15 or 16. So I think when people say top 10 offense, again, it's going to be extremely tough to do that. It's going to come down to, can Chip Kelly maximize the offensive weaponry that we have, because we have upgraded tremendously, right? But it's not like the best offense you've ever seen. Scoring-wise, again, terrible. 18 points per game. The Lions led the league with 30. You got to get another touchdown on the board minimum to get to where you want to be. I think it's surprising to some people to see that the Broncos had a top 10 scoring offense in the league. Now, their defense being as good as it was and getting, 3-and-outs consistently and flipping the field consistently probably helped them there, right? At 25 a game. I do think we can improve this and get into the low 20s. I see that as a possibility, but again, asking to go from 18 to 25 is a big ask. Red zone efficiency, I think that's going to go up a lot because we're just going to be able to run the ball. This is red zone touchdown rate. So we were around 50%, and the Packers were around 60%. Okay, so again, that's going to go up a lot. I think for us, it's going to improve because we're going to have people in short yardage situations like Jack Bash and Brock Bowers, and even Geno Smith is going to be able to run in a few touchdowns that Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew weren't able to do. So I do think, that's an area of concern, but I don't see us struggling that bad to improve that area. Third down efficiency, again, we could not convert a third down to save our lives. 35%, but to get to the top 10, it's only 40%. This is what I was talking about with the margins. The best third down team in the league was the Tampa Bay Bucks at 50%. So I do think that's another thing that we could we can improve upon a lot. But when you look at this picture as a whole here, I do think it's telling that as far as passing yards per game goes and third down efficiency and red zone efficiency, we can get there. We can get to top 10 levels. Rushing yards per game, total yards per game, and touchdowns. We need to score the football. That's been like the Achilles heel of this team. Even when Derek Carr was here and humming in 2021, we'd get down to the red zone, and then we would struggle to get in there. So can we have a top 10 offense in 2025? Yes, we absolutely can. But it's not going to be as easy as some people are claiming that it's going to be. And I wanted to make this video to kind of shine a light on just how you get there. And Denver having a top 10 scoring offense, that has a lot to say about Bo Nix and Sean Payton, no doubt about it. But it's the defense as well. It's their ability to flip the field. So the better the defense is, the better the offense is. Now, like I said before, the defense is going to rely heavily on this front four. If it does not perform the way we think it can, our defense is going to struggle. And in turn, that means our offense is going to have to work harder to reach those top 10 levels that we want it to be. Right now, if I had to guess, I would say the Raiders have probably, if they had the 28th best offense last year, I would say it gets like 16 or 15 easily, and its ceiling is like 10, but it feels like 14 is right around where they're going to be. And defensively, I don't know, last year was not great, but again, it came down to health. The year before that, we were a top 10 scorer defense. So again, if they can get down to if they were around the low 20s, if they can get to 17, 16, or 15, okay, then you start to say, where do we fall between the margins? Does Daniel Carlson win us a couple of games and A.J. Cole win us a couple of games that we would have lost if we had bottom 5 defenses and bottom 5 offenses, right? Can we outcoach these guys on the other side of the football? Can Sean Payton or can Pete Carroll outcoach Sean Payton? Can Pete Carroll outcoach Brian Daboll? Can Pete Carroll outcoach, Mike Vrabel? This is how we're going to have to win these games in between the margins, because I think our offense is going to be a little bit better than our defense is going to fall right in the middle. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on that. Like I said, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. Join if you want to support the channel further and you want to get a little more out of your money than just a donation that pops up in the comment section or a live chat. This is how you make an impact. Join. Link is in the description below. Join the Discord. That's completely free. It's awesome. We're talking in there all the time. And please be sure to subscribe. But it's free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys. And I'll see you next time.